Hello and welcome back to our podcast. My name is Hannah.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is the You Talking to Me podcast. Today we will be talking about actually two different series. We watched the first episode in each series, but the first thing we will be talking about is Emily in Paris, but Emily, I'm looking at Rachel, and I know her name's Rachel, but I called her Emily. Rachel apparently told me that's Emily in Paris, but I'm going with Emily in Paris, so fight me.
Yeah, there was apparently a trend on Twitter that was like, there's a show called Emily in Paris. What is your name that rhymes with a location where would yours take place in? And mine was like some Ukrainian town because nothing rhymes with Rachel.
I love that so much.
What
Oh
about
my
yours?
gosh.
What's yours, Hannah? Do you know a location that rhymes with Hannah?
How about Hannah, North Dakota? Whoa.
Hannah and Hannah?
Yeah,
I love
I'm
that.
sure there's some place like I would have it take place in Savannah. Hey,
Hannah and Savannah, come hang out with me.
I'd love it. I'd be here for it because Hannah and Hannah, North Dakota would be literally the most boring show you've ever seen in your life.
Well, let's get on to the more exciting one out of all of these titles, and that is Emily in Paris.
Emily in Paris, I guess, is a Netflix original series. In episode 1, we watch Emily move from Chicago to Paris for her job. She has to navigate working in a French office while only speaking English and learning the ways of the French. She is in a new city, all alone, and doesn't speak the language. Her new boss seems to hate her, but she has found a new friend and one of her coworkers seems nice. Will she start to have better times and find herself, or will she continue to struggle with being in the most romantic city in the world without her partner and be looked down upon by her boss? Watch the rest of the series to find out.
All right, so disclaimer with the two shows that we're watching or that we're reviewing today, Hannah has seen the whole season of this one, and I've seen the whole season of the second one we're going to be talking about. Hannah, what was your first reaction when watching this pilot?
The very first time I saw it, I guess I don't know if I remember what my exact thoughts were. I think this is a recurring theme with me. If you remember my thoughts on Letters to Juliet and how I love this scenery, I was just so excited about some place that was not the Americas and the landscape here because I really miss traveling, and so I love that it was shot there. I think Emily seems dumb and she tries really hard, but I also found the show entertaining.
Is the location the reason you clicked on it the first time? This is on Netflix, so is that the reason you picked it?
No, the reason I picked it is because one day at work, my employer had it on in the background while she was doing work, and I saw this very small scene of this interaction between Emily and this girl, and I was like, oh my God, that's gay. So I genuinely thought that this was going to be a gay show, and I very quickly learned it's not, and so I was disappointed about that, but then I kept coming back because of the scenery of Paris.
I have seen it on Netflix a lot. Kind of watched the trailer and I was like, absolutely not. I will never click on this. Not in a million years, not in 2 million years. Mm-mm. And now I have been forced to have this on my keep watching list on Netflix. So thank you for that. I know you can edit it now though, but I watched the pilot and I will say that I made it through. And I don't know if this is a show for me, but I'm probably going to watch all of it because I've started it and now I can't stop. So I'm probably going to watch every single episode. Luckily, it's 10 episodes and only one season right now?
Yes, currently there are 10 30-ish minute episodes, but there is a confirmed season 2.
I like Lily Collins. She stars in it. She's the main character. She's in another show or a movie that I watched called To the Bone. Her acting, I don't know what it is about her, but I have to watch the whole thing that she's in, even if I don't like whatever it is.
She's a very intriguing person, I feel like, and as much as or what you were saying makes sense to me, you just had to keep watching it. I don't know if I ever thoroughly enjoyed besides the scenery. Like there were some parts that are funny and whatever, but a lot of it I didn't like actually like, but it was like I had to watch it because I had started it. And so I do say I would watch and did watch the series. And I have to say, I probably hate to admit it, but when season 2 comes out, I will be watching it just because I need to know what happens. I also think the writing develops as the season goes on. I will say that.
Pilots are the hardest thing to write. Like, honestly, that's the thing that I hear the most in grad school is that when you're writing for a TV show, the pilot is the hardest because you have to get out all the information, all the exposition, why they're there, or at least enough for you to like understand kind of what's going on. Like, obviously, there's some shows where you don't find things out until like episode 20. You know what I mean? This Is Us is a great example where they just keep revealing things over and over, like throughout the series. But you need to have a general understanding of like where we're at right now, kind of why we're here, or maybe why we're here if it's more of a mystery. And it's very hard because it's also the one thing that people are going to watch and decide if they're going to watch the rest of it. So there's a ton of pressure on the pilot. Luckily for things like Netflix originals, the rest of the show is all up. You know what I mean? So you can click on it and be like, okay, well, do I want to watch the second episode? Let me try a little bit. Is it better? Yes, no, whatever the answer is. Whereas if it's a network show, like on CBS, NBC, Freeform, whatever you're watching, you got to wait a week or however long to like watch the next episode. And if you didn't like the first one, you're not going to sit at 7 o'clock on Wednesday and watch the next week's episode. You know what I mean? You're going to find something else to do. And with network not being that popular anymore, you really got to draw them in.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And think how weird it is. Do you think like one day when we have kids that cable TV like literally won't be a thing? It's all just gonna be streaming services.
That sounds scary, but like probably, honestly, because even sports and news are on these streaming apps. You know what I mean? Like my boyfriend loves soccer, and the only places that he can watch some of the soccer games now because they're not really on cable. Like he has cable and he can't watch it on them because it's on Peacock or only on CBS All Access, which is now Paramount Plus apparently. It's just like very weird that even like the live events or things that were normally on, you know, free, quote unquote, free TV for everybody, you know what I mean, is now something that you have to pay a monthly subscription to, and you have to pay it like on several different accounts. People are probably not even going to be saving any money, you know, buying the streaming services instead of cable. Are they going to go back to cable? Is that going to make like a comeback?
Maybe it'll be like records that they made a comeback, you know, cable will make a comeback.
Emily and Perry got me enough to where I would probably click on the next episode because it's going to be on my keep watching list and it's going to remind me, like, unless I take it off right now, you know what I mean, and just forget about it. I'm probably just going to watch the next one. I don't have a ton of stuff that I'm watching currently. I've kind of finished up all of the other stuff and I'm just waiting for new seasons to come out of the shows that I'm watching. So I will probably watch the rest of it and see if I like it. But the pilot, I feel like these characters just feel a little off. They don't feel very real in a lot of cases. Like they're heightened in the stereotypes of like evil French people who hate Americans, you know, and I have heard that's a stereotype, but it seems a little too much.
Okay, I like where you're going with that, but an interesting fact about that, or fun fact, is that it was filmed on location in Paris, okay, but with a totally French crew. So wouldn't you think if it was a totally French crew that they would be like, excuse me, like that's not accurate?
Maybe, but it all was already written before they shot it. So I
Yeah.
don't have the answer to that, but I'm wondering like if I was, you know, the boom mic holder on set, I don't think I'd speak up if I thought that it was bad or like not accurate, you know, because that's the industry we kind of live in. But maybe they did. I mean, I know they wrote it in France, in Paris, while they were creating the show. So maybe they had some consultants, but I didn't find that information. I just don't know if it's out there, if someone said that they did that. And it's also kind of a comedy to an extent. So, I mean, like, you heighten different things for comedies.
Right. And obviously, there are going to be certain French people, I'm sure, that literally hate Americans. Just like I'm sure there's Americans that literally hate French people, but that doesn't mean that everyone is that way. And maybe they were just playing into a certain stereotype and just wanted to make it funny. Or, I mean, for all we know, they could be part French. The writer could be part French and thought that it was funny Like maybe they're French American, who knows? And so they just thought it was a funny take to have on it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I don't think that made it bad. It just seemed a little weird.
Oh, I get that completely. Did you have anything else that you would have critiqued or something on the flip of that that you thought was really good from the episode?
I'll go to something good for now so that it's not just me begging on it because I did think it was fine. You know, it wasn't terrible or anything. I really love the Mindy character. I'm excited to see her show up. I'm guessing that's the lady you thought that was gay with Lily Collins or Emily. Oh no, interesting. They're definitely going to be like best friends, I feel like, in this show. Character of Mindy is a nanny of these two French kids, and she's like teaching them Mandarin because I feel like these are just some rich kids that they want to be like quadlingual or something, like just know every language. They are brats. These kids are brats. But she sits next to Emily on Emily's lunch break when she's like all alone or whatever. And you know, it's like, give me your number. I'll give you mine. If you're lonely and bored, we'll go get dinner. Like, you're not about to be lonely in Paris. Don't worry.
Mindy has a very fun storyline, I will tell you that. And the woman who I thought that was going to like be a gay storyline, her name's Camille. I think that's how they pronounce it. It's spelled like the American Camille, but I'm pretty sure it's Camille. But she's a fun character and she is a big part of, I don't know what episode she comes in, maybe like episode 2 or 3, but you'll understand when you see the moment I'm talking about. You'll be like, oh, I get, if you literally only saw that clip, why you could think that it would be a gay show.
Well, I'm pumped for that. But Mindy is super lovely. She's like not overly kind or anything, but she's like kind in her own way. And I love it that she's not like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry that you're so lonely here. It's like, look, here's my number. If you're bored, if you're lonely, let's go get dinner. Okay? Just call me. Very blunt, straight up.
We love someone who's forward. Like, who cares? Don't beat around the bush, people. Just get straight to the point. Did you like any of her coworkers, or did you think all of them were pieces of garbage?
I don't think all of them were pieces of garbage, but I didn't really like any of them. I thought the whole Luke scene where he sees her at the diner or whatever was so convenient. I'm annoyed by it. I'm glad it happened so that she knows like what she has to do to like try and win them over or whatever, but I'm rolling my eyes. I was like, are you serious? Like, he's just happens to be scootering by and is like, oh, Emily, let me come over and tell you that I was not on board with calling you the French word for hick. You know what I mean?
La Plouc.
Yeah. Like, I'm glad that he didn't call her that when they all came back and called her Le Plouc when they came back from lunch or whatever. He didn't say it. He, like, kind of almost did, but was like, I don't really want to fit in with this crowd. I think that there should have been maybe a scene later in the workday where he, like, pulls her aside, like, secretly is like, hey, you know, and goes through this conversation. I thought it was too convenient that he just happened to see her at this specific restaurant, you know. So that was my critique, but I do like Luke. He's my favorite so far. Everyone else, piece of garbage.
I love Luke, and I can't remember how his character develops throughout the series, but I have a feeling that that had something to do with me remembering him like this. I was like, oh yeah, I love him. But for some reason, he like reminds me of Albert Einstein. Not that he's like trying to be a scientist or something, but I think it's the hair. But he's like tall and lanky and awkward, and he just seems like a very relatable person, and he seems like he actually has good intentions, which I enjoy.
He wasn't like the classic, just like hot guy, you know. He's a very normal looking cast member, you know. And I think a lot of them are more attractive versions of normal people, but they're still like very normal looking in movie world. They're normal. Like even Emily's boyfriend, Doug, is that his name? He's very bland looking, like bland business frat boy from college. Like he's definitely business major, probably marketing. Like no offense, marketing majors. He definitely was in a frat, and he loves sports. Those are the three things that I know about him. Only one of them was confirmed on the show. Those are the three facts.
Yes, I loved that. And speaking of things I loved, I want to talk about some of my favorite things, which I already mentioned the scenery. I agree that I love Luke and Mindy, and I think you'll grow to love Luke more as the series goes on. Unless I just like blanked out and I'm just obsessed with the way he looks and maybe that's it. I can't remember. I thought the music was good in this episode, like the transition-y type of music and stuff. And like I said, I would watch this and I did watch the series, but I love the transitions. I can't remember all of them precisely, but my favorite one is when she's going from Chicago to Paris. It literally takes you like underwater and you start in Chicago and then boom, you are in Paris. And I thought that was like the coolest transition ever. What's your thoughts on that?
It stood out to me when you said transitions. I was like, I only remember one. Like, but literally, that's the only one I remember. But it really did stand out, and it was nice because it's not the classic like watching the airplane take off, or there's not even a scene of her traveling in between. It's like she's in a car, I think, in freaking Chicago, or standing by water in Chicago, and all of a sudden she's in like a taxi in Paris. Thank you for not wasting my time. I love that. That was a really good transition. It was just fun.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was so unique. And that's what we need. Like, try something. Maybe it won't work for the scene, but who cares? Why don't you try something? I think that that was so fun. My other favorite thing is at the very end of the episode. And I don't know if we want to talk about that here or wait till we're at the end of talking about this episode. But my other favorite thing, I thought it's freaking funny that Emily, being the she, and her boyfriend, whatever that man's name is, are trying to like have phone sex, and then the phone glitches, and then she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna finish myself. So she grabs her vibrator and plugs it in the wall, and the electricity in the whole apartment building goes out. And I was like, yes. If that isn't like exactly a portrayal of her life right now in Paris, like she thinks she's gonna be doing this great thing and everything's kind of just like not working out at all. And this is just another one of those things where, yes, I'm gonna do this great thing. Psych, let's shut off the power in the entire apartment building.
I love a good vibrator metaphor. I love that. Honestly, that is, I think, I couldn't remember why I wanted to watch the next episode. That is all I needed to be like, I need to watch what happens next. Not that they're going to really continue up on this storyline. I have no idea. They have no need to. But I literally was like, if they're willing to end an episode like that, here I come. I'm coming to the next episode. Here we go.
Exactly. It just keeps you engaged. They knew how to do it. It's like the kiss at the end of a Hallmark movie that makes you want to watch another Hallmark movie. That scene was like, yep, this is it. Let me continue watching until the next episode. I need to find out what happens.
One thing that I hate and loved. Okay. So right away when she's moving in, they're like climbing up the stairs with all of her suitcases and stuff, and she stops on what she thinks should be the 5th floor, but it's really the 4th floor. And she's like, but we went up like 5 flights of stairs or whatever. And he goes, the bottom floor is called the ground floor, then the next floor is floor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's how they do it here. Okay, that's fine, but like I knew that because when I went to Europe, they also like let us know that and whatnot, and we found that stuff out. They have a scene later where she's like so tired, she's exhausted, she hates her job right now. She tries to like go into her room and she's trying to unlock it, but it's not working. She's on the 4th floor again, and this very handsome man like answers the door, and she's like, oops, wrong room. Oh, I thought I was on the 5th floor. And he's like, that's up a floor. That's all we needed to like orientate ourselves into the world of like how Europe just numbers their floors differently, okay? Because the first one seemed so contrived, like forced. They wanted to make sure so that they set up the joke later, but I don't even think it needed a setup. You know what I mean? I think if they go up to her room, the guy hits on her, she's like, I have a boyfriend, like all that stuff, like not in Paris. I thought that was funny, but sorry, you should not be hitting on somebody who's with someone else, just saying.
Well, I think, well, one, talking about that guy hitting on her, I don't think he knew she wasn't single, but then she flat out, yeah, after she says he still tries to hit on her. But I love how forceful, I love that they did not paint a picture of her being like this weak girl or trying to be like all awkward about it. She was just very forward, like, no, leave, goodbye, I don't want your number, bye, I'm not single, goodbye. However, for me, I had no freaking clue that the numbering system for floors was like this in Europe, so I didn't think that that was unnecessary because I would think I would have been confused if she showed up at this guy's floor and was like, oh no, this is floor 4, because I'd be like, okay, so she only climbed up 3 flights of stairs. Is she drunk or something? I think I needed that information in the beginning because I didn't know that flooring worked like that. Is that even correct language? I don't know.
But I think so. My argument is I think he could have kind of explained it to her, like maybe. So I think this all could have taken place in one day. The first episode, like not like the before in Chicago, but I mean like once she's in Paris, I think all of that should have been like one day she got there like really early and she's got to go to work or whatever. And he takes the bags up herself or himself, and she's already like wearing what she's gonna wear to work. And that could have been where it started, so that when she's going home, she remembers, oh, I'm in room 502 or whatever. She goes up and tries the key. It's this guy's floor, and he explains it to her. Oh, it's actually one floor up. You know, this is how it works. I think that would have been more interesting because we just know that she's gonna like mess it up. You know what I mean? Later, like they set it up so obviously to me that you know she's gonna try and get into someone's room or something.
Okay, I agree. When you said it like that, like explain it later on, I think that that would be a good way to do it. And they didn't necessarily need to have it in the beginning because it you knew something was going to happen with the setup. It wasn't a question of if, it was a question of when.
Precisely, and that's why I'm critiquing that part specifically, because in other shows that I've watched, they set up something, and now because I'm in grad school and I understand like setup joke, I can sometimes pick up on it, but other people don't. Like it's just like I was watching a show, and I'm not going to say which one because if you watch the show, I will feel very bad if I spoil it for you. But someone is like, oh, aren't you going to go hang out with your grandpa bunch? She goes, no, he lives across the courtyard like 20 feet away. I'm going to see him all the time. He dies later in that episode. And I called it. I'm like, he's going to die, isn't he? And she's going to feel really bad that she didn't go hang out with him. I can like sometimes call it, but this one I felt like wasn't just me knowing something was going to happen. It was like she's going to mess it up.
Yeah, I get that for sure. Do you have anything else you want to add about this show?
Just besides that, Emily, like she was a go-getter. She's very motivated and stuff. I like that she kind of is still trying to put a positive spin on everything, even after literally everyone said, no, I'm not going to go to lunch with you. And then all went to lunch together. I'm sorry. Worst humans ever. I would have cried. I would have gone home and cried and been like, Doug, I cannot go to work to lay after lunch. Like they hate me. Like I'd be crying. That was so sad. Like, even if I didn't like Emily as a person until that point, I'd be like, I know what it's like to be on the outskirts of a group or whatever. It is so painful, absolutely the worst. And I would not wish that even on a horrible human being. And to be your first day at work, your first kind of day, like first time ever in this country where you don't speak the same language. I wish that she would have been prepared to go to Paris, I guess, because I wish she could have like learned the language, because she does come across as very ignorant. And they talk about that in the pilot, which is great. But I wish they would have given her a chance, because like they're ostracizing her right there.
Yeah, I agree with that. And my remark earlier saying that she seems dumb, I think that that is why I say she seems dumb, is because she's going somewhere. Like, wouldn't you be a little more knowledgeable? Like, I understand she didn't have that much time to learn the language or something, but she just seems very unprepared. And I'm a type of person where I'm like, you don't need to have a plan, but you should be prepared to do whatever you're going to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like when we went to Europe, oh my gosh, it sounds so pretentious. When we went to Europe, we traveled kind of all over the place because my parents were like, we're not going to come to Europe again. We're like going to go everywhere. But we were not prepared for a couple of the places that we went to. Like when we went to the Vatican, we didn't realize there was a dress code to get in. And so my mom and I could not get in because our shoulders were exposed or we had too short of shorts. Like for real, that's a real fact. And so I turned to my mom. I'm like, sorry, we're just too big of sluts to get into the Vatican right now. She thought that was so funny. We should have prepared, but we didn't know until we literally were stopped by the guards. So we're like, you cannot come in here. But maybe she didn't know what research she had to do, just like we didn't know what research we had to do. You know what I mean? So I feel for her. I just wish they would have been like, you're going to leave in a month to go to Paris.
Right. And you don't know what you don't know. So life's a learning experience. So I enjoyed that we get to watch her learn, but I just felt like she just seems so dumb sometimes, which bugs me. But I think with that, that wraps up Emily in Paris. And I think right now would be a good time to answer last week's question. So if you don't remember, even if you do remember, we're going to put the question in here anyway. So the question from last week is, which podcasts do you listen to and what's your favorite? And that was a question from Dean. So thank you, Dean. Rachel, which podcasts do you listen to and what's your favorite?
It is super hard to get me to listen to a podcast. I don't know why. Like, we literally make a podcast, and I do not blame people for like not listening to it because it's so hard to get into it. But I listen to 2/3 podcasts. Two of them are on the same like YouTube channel or whatever, but they're like two separate ones because that has two different people or two different groups of people in it. The first one, it's a Big Brother podcast. It's called Rob Has a Podcast. And he has a bunch of different ones. Some are on The Bachelor, some are on The Amazing Race, some are whatever. The one that I listen to is about the reality show Big Brother, my favorite show ever that has ever existed. I listen to that one. It's very long. It's unscripted, unedited. It's literally shot live, and then it's visual as well, which I like have to have a visual podcast, but I have to like watch them talk for some reason. That one is one of my favorites. And then I listen to, they're the Tripods. So it's by the Try Guys. They're used to be on BuzzFeed. Now they have their own YouTube channel and company and stuff like that. It's these 4 guys. They've been friends for a while. They have a podcast called The Tripod, and then their significant others have a podcast called You Can Sit With Us, and they're very lovely. It's mostly just the women. One of the Try Guys has a boyfriend, but he's not on it all the time. He's just there sometimes. So it's just the 3 fiancés/wives and then their producer, who's also a woman, who run it, and it's very lovely. I love those podcasts. Those two, the 2 tripods, are usually about an hour. The other one can be literally 2.5 hours sometimes. What about you, Hannah?
I have a handful of podcasts I listen to, but I will talk about my top 2. I can't say they're in a particular order, it's just by the way they popped up on my screen. It's The Pants Pod by Kate Manning and Leisha Haley. If you are someone in the LGBTQ plus community, you probably know who they are because they're in the L Word. It's Shane and Alice from the L Word, and I love them, and it's a very funny podcast. It's short and it kind of dives more into their episodes and just like their life and stuff, which I enjoy. And the other podcast that's my favorite is called Unqualified by Soph Mosca. She is also a person in the LGBTQ plus community, and she talks about just feeling like unqualified for things in life and how she does life and stuff like that. So it's informational. And I like at the end of her podcast, she has a quote of the week or something. I mean, I don't think she calls it that, but it's like words of advice, sort of. And then she always gives you a song recommendation at the end of each episode. And I would say both of those, or her podcast is usually like 40 minutes to an hour. And then, like I said, the Pants podcast is like shorter. They're probably literally 20 to 30-minute episodes. I would say mostly what I listen to is things by LGBTQ plus content creators because that is where my interests lie.
Well, thank you, Dean, for that question. I hope y'all liked our answers. Let us know what podcasts you listen to, obviously, besides this one. Comment below if you're listening on YouTube, or DM us, or comment on Instagram, on Twitter, whatever it is, and just let us know what you're listening to as well and why you like those podcasts. The next show that we're gonna look at is called Dash and Lily. Hannah, do you have the recap or synopsis for this one?
Yes, I do. In episode 1 of Dash and Lily, we follow Dash. He talks about how he thinks the holidays are the most detestable time of the year and people think they are in love because of the holiday spirit. He likes to be alone, and something he enjoys doing is going to a bookstore called The Strand. While at the bookstore, he finds a notebook with clues in it about finding the girl who wrote the clues. She says she wants it to be a boy who is into girls. He plays her game and is intrigued by her. At the end of the episode, he finds out her name is Lily. Will Dash find out who Lily is in real life? And if he does, will she be everything he is thinking she will be? Watch the series to find out.
Like I said earlier in the podcast, I've already seen this whole season. So I need Hannah to tell me what she thought of the first episode.
All right. Well, I guess this would be my part where I say if I would watch the rest of the series, right? I have that as undecided. I have not started to watch the rest of it, not intrigued to. I said it seems set for a younger audience, in my opinion. This one's rated TV 14. I don't know if it's because I work with a kid for my job, so I'm like my whole life is focused on younger things until I'm outside of work, but anything that's like set for a younger audience, I don't have a single interest in. And to me, this writing was very much set for youth, which is funny because my employer actually told me to watch this. She loved this so much that she's watched it like 4 separate times. She watched the whole series, I think. What's your thoughts on it? Because obviously you watched the whole series.
It came up. It's Christmas. It takes place at Christmas time, like Hannah said. Like leading up to, and I think like right after Christmas is like the timeline, if I remember correctly. It is so beautiful. It came up on my Netflix. It was like one of the like recommended on the homepage and played the trailer when you logged in. And I was like, I need to watch this immediately. I love Christmas movies. I love Christmas anything. They light up my life. I also was writing at the same time a TV show pilot that was like this woman who's stuck kind of in the tropes of a Hallmark Christmas movie, but in a show, and like she hates Christmas and stuff like that. So that was really fun that at the same time that kind of was going on in my life. So I was totally like ready for that. I also love kid shows. That's like almost all that I watch. So when I saw, teens, it wasn't like sexy teens either, like Riverdale, but I'm so sick of like sexy teens. You know what I mean? It's like, why are we like fetishizing high schoolers and like wanting them to have sex, and we are all definitely older than high school? Like that is weird and creepy. So I love children's shows like this. It's just real teens looking for love on Christmas, and one of them hates it. One of them literally is bursting Christmas joy. You know what I mean? Like those are the two opposites here, and it's very fun to see. Will they get together? Will they even meet? Like what's going to happen? This is the show for me. I clicked on it. The first episode, though, I'm going to say it wasn't super interesting. I was like, how cool is it going to be to like hear all these voiceovers and like, oh, they're passing a book back and forth. Okay, cool. So like, it was just, I was like, I have to watch the next episode though, like immediately. This needs to get better. I know this is going to get better. I know they're going to meet. Like, I just had all of these wishes and knowings in my mind that I needed to know if they were going to come true. That's why I watched the whole thing.
Well, and you didn't have that much footage to get through because it's only 8 30-ish minute episodes. So, I mean, if you talk about it completely, that's like 4 hours, which is kind of a lot of time, but not also really for a series. And it is a Netflix original series, if we didn't mention that. A fun fact about it, too, is that it is shot on location in New York City. So here we are once again with Hannah liking the scenery in film slash, I guess, series now. And that was one of my favorite things, is that it was shot in New York City. And I could tell it was because I've been to New York and I love New York City. It's probably literally my favorite city. I can never live there, but it will like always be one of my favorite cities. I think it's so messy and gross, but also just so magical in a way that no other place is like New York City.
Yeah, I've been to New York City as well, and it was both like smelled like pee, but also was like, I never want to leave. This is so beautiful. Like, I don't know how you get both in one place, like on the same street. Fun fact is like, yes, it was shot on location, and they didn't like rename any of the places. You know what I mean? Like the Strand is a real place. Later on, they shoot at the Morgan Library, I think is what it's called. Real place. And it was like the first time they allowed anyone to shoot inside the Morgan Library in decades. They had real places. Like that was a real Macy's and stuff that you see, which is super cool. I loved that. They didn't try to like make it New York fantasy. It was in New York.
Yeah, another real place that they filmed at was Two Boots, which is a pizza place. And I was excited that they were filming there because I've heard about it because they have vegan pizza options and I am vegan. So I was like, ooh.
And that's the place that Boomer works, correct? So that's the pizza place we see. And I didn't think that was a real place. Like, that was actually like the place that I thought was kind of made up. It seems so real though when I think about it, that if you were to create a pizza place for a TV show, like, why would it look like that? You know what I mean? Did they actually have like movies and stuff you could rent there? Did you go there?
I didn't go there, but I follow a YouTuber and she's also on Instagram. Her name's Vegan Bodega Cat and she lives in New York City. And she and her boyfriend both love going to Two Boots. I mean, not currently because, the world's still shut down, but they get pizza from Two Boots frequently.
Yeah, I did not go there when I went to New York either. I've never heard of it. I haven't heard of the Strand either, and I like spent a significant amount of time, like a week there or whatever. And I was shocked that we just like never thought about it. My sister and my mom are huge like book readers, book junkies. My sister literally yesterday sent me pictures of these books that she got for me. She's like, I'm at this really cool bookstore in, New Mexico, and was like, look at what I got you. We literally went on a trip to Maine because my sister loves Stephen King so much. I'm glad that they used real locations, and it did feel more real when I was watching it, knowing that they were real places.
Yeah, I enjoy the realness factor too, because as much as sometimes I would like a series or a movie or something to be like this escapism or escape from my life, sometimes I want it to still feel really real. And so, sure, you're still escaping your life, but you're jumping into a different city. And for me, hello, I freaking love New York City. So then it was like I was there. And one of my favorite things was some of the shots where you were just walking the New York City streets because I was like, yes, it's New York. That's my home.
Yeah, I mean, we're from boring places. So we're from North Dakota. Literally, they could have shot it in freaking Omaha, and we'd be like, yes, escapism. But New York City is about, besides like LA and whatnot, maybe Disney World, like these are the most exciting places in America that you can escape to. So that aren't like nature. You know what I mean? Like, these are just the very opposite of Grand Forks.
Honestly, it might not seem like it, but I think I preferred the footage from this one, even though I probably won't watch the series. I just like the footage from it because, like I previously stated, New York is one of my like probably my top rated city. I just love that place. Do you have anything else that you like loved about that first episode or thought that could be reworked, or what's your thoughts on that?
I want to find my own notebook. Yes, I'm in a committed relationship, but like I think just the fun of like having a friend that you don't know who it is, like a pen pal kind of basically, like the thrill of figuring out like the clues. And real quick though, I would never figure out those clues. I would have never solved that riddle. I would have been like, guess I'm gonna just die alone and hopefully the next person can figure it out. But I think like high school me would have wanted that so badly. Like I would have killed for that. That would have been so fun. Even like me now, if I found something in a bookstore that was like a riddle or whatever, I'd be like, I'm all about this. We are gonna be friends somehow. So that's something that it made me want to be a part of it.
I like the whole mystery aspect of it where you're having to meet someone and get to know them without knowing what they look like or how they sound. Because I feel like a lot of times, especially now with dating apps, it's all based on appearance and the way someone looks. And literally, someone can look one way and act a completely different way. And something that I've found is writing, like the way someone writes, is very intimate and it's more personal, obviously way more personal than like swiping on someone's Tinder profile. So I just like that it's not based off of looks and you don't even know the name at first. Because maybe a name is it could be like a sign of the way someone might look. I don't know. There's different names for different types of people, or you might have a prejudice about how someone will look based on a name. And maybe you're like, I don't want to get to know the person because of that name, but it's you get to know the person by what they're writing and nothing else.
And that is really interesting because, yeah, you get to know them without the pressure of being like, we're on a dating app, so we're talking to see if we're gonna date. You know what I mean? I've never been on a dating app, but I know that just must be so much pressure. Like, you're swiping and then you maybe match with someone and one of you have got to message first and be like, hey, like, I don't know, like, it's cool to have a fun opener, or like maybe you connect with something on their bio, but there's just so much pressure of like, do I like this person? Am I interesting? Are they interesting? I'm sorry, but texting is not a good way to figure that out. There's a show that I watch called Mom, and it's on CBS. It's so amazing. And one way that one of the main characters meets someone that she starts dating is he got a wrong number by someone else. Like, they gave him a fake number and he called this main character and they just start talking for like hours. They keep talking to each other. They're like watching movies together over the phone. Like, it's so fun. Like, they're calling each other and whatnot. And then they finally like do meet up or whatever. And it's like very interesting because you find out, I'm going to spoil it, I'm so sorry, but you find out like he's in a wheelchair and she's like the tallest woman like to ever exist. And it's just, there's like that intimidation of like, is this going to work out? But it all started like you connected on a personal level rather than on a looks level. Like, would I look at if Dash and Lily met each other, would they look at each other the same way that they would if they don't have a personal connection? First off, would I swipe on you if I saw your picture on a dating app? I just like you said, the more intimate personal level of it.
Right. And that also goes to show that, like the show you were talking about, how they were getting to know each other like that, and then they saw each other in real life. Looks obviously are an important aspect of some things, but they aren't everything. And someone can literally be the hottest person you've ever seen in your whole life and have the worst personality, and then they're literally so ugly after that, because I'm like, ew, you need to have a good personality. You can't just be hot, okay? I guess I don't know how the whole Dash and Lily meeting goes because I only watched the first episode, but I have a feeling they meet in an interesting way. One of the things Dash has to do for this scavenger hunt, or whatever you want to call it, he has to speak this song at the bookstore. He has to like try to, I don't know if you'd call it serenade the people, but there's a song that he has to get up with this microphone and just start speaking it to the whole bookstore. And I swear that was so freaking funny to me. I don't know, I loved that part so much.
I thought it was super awkward, and I probably would have done it. Like, it wouldn't have been like that embarrassing for me to do it. You know what I mean? Some people I know would literally rather light themselves on fire, but it seemed just kind of fun. And then I liked when he had to go to the, I don't know what section I guess it was, but it was like a book about gay sex or whatever. And someone from his high school saw him and was like, his
Something like
ex-girlfriend
that.
is back in town apparently. And her friend Priya was like, should I tell her anything? Because he's holding this big like gay sex book. And he's like, what did he say? He had the best line ever, like, people change or something like that. Or
He said something along the lines of like, tell her I'm trying new things or something.
yes, that was so funny. I was like, king shit. Like, what? Not being like, oh my god, no, what? I'm not gay. Like, being mistaken for being gay, like, wasn't a problem, even though he like literally dated a woman.
Right, I love that. The other part that was the funniest thing I've ever seen, I swear, was when he, and it's so relatable. If you've been in New York and on a subway, you know how crowded subways are, and like people don't really care that much. I mean, they try not to touch you and whatever, but also if they like fall into you, it's like, okay, whatever. But then if you fall into someone, they're gonna be freaking pissed off at you. But he's sitting on the subway and he gets a Christmas tree shoved in his face by this man. Like, this man's trying to bring home an evergreen tree on the subway, and it's just like all up in his face. And I'm like, yes, that is relatable. I mean, I've never had a Christmas tree in my face on the subway, but I've definitely had random objects or like people's jacket hoods or hair, or like a dog's coming up to me, and I'm like, can you just leave me alone?
Oh yeah, I have definitely, especially on like airport trams or whatever, I have fallen into so many people because I was so confident. I'm like, I don't need to hold on to the railing. And now I like don't hold on to the railing because COVID, like I've had to travel back for whatnot. And I was like, I refuse to hold on to these railings. So I just like braced myself I have definitely just been like, "Wah," just falling into people like an idiot. So I understood, but it was super funny. I like just the little pieces of New York that they throw in there.
They're keeping it real, which I enjoy. The other thing that they keep it real with is they reveal that Dash has told his mom that he's spending Christmas with his dad, and he's told his dad that he's spending Christmas with his mom, but he's actually staying at his dad's empty apartment. And he said that the gift to himself for Christmas is solitude. And I was like, wow, I've never related to a human more. Like, I would do this. I would be like, leave me the F alone. I don't care, people. Goodbye.
Well, especially in New York City, I feel like that's a lot of people all the time, especially with like divorced parents. He's obviously like being ushered back and forth and trying to please them, I'm guessing, instead of like being the center of their attention or like being the one that they're focused on. He has to like try and mediate something there, is what it kind of seems like. So he is like, I'm sorry, but if I knew this guy in real life, I would definitely not pursue him. He sits and watches like black and white silent movies and like movie classics. Shut up. You're so boring. Ew. Like, I'm sorry. Can you watch like a normal person thing? Like high schoolers and college people that are like, I'm different. I don't need you to be different. I need you to watch High School Musical 2 with me.
I love that. I mean, we are all different just by definition. But I mean, if you really truly do enjoy watching black and white silent films, go for it. You know, that's you, but you're not going to be compatible with Rachel. Sorry. Too bad. Plus, Jack is already in her life. So,
Well, and it's like, I feel like filmmakers make these people exist because they're like quirky and it's fun. I mean, we saw it in the half of it with the whole like, I watch movies that no one else watches because I'm artsy. It's like, you can be artsy and watch a movie that everybody else has seen. Like, you don't have to only watch Casablanca. And I have had people in some of my classes who only watch like the Criterion collection. I don't even know what that is. I've never heard of it until this class. And these people are like getting off on it. And I'm like, ew, I'm sorry. Nope. Do not try and pull me in. I am not gonna change my mind. It's like it's their whole personality is I watch movies that no one else watches because it makes me cool. It's like you can like those movies without making it your only personality trait.
my personality trait in high school was, well, just trying to get by and, you know, doing whatever. But if you go off of what I would watch, it was literally foreign films. Like, that's what I watched. And it's like the subtitles had to be on the whole time because you don't have a single clue what anyone's saying. But I watched some very interesting things in high school, let me tell you.
This is why Hannah and I were not friends until college. I'm just kidding. They kind of wrap up the storyline. I won't tell you how and where anyone ends up. I mean, I'm sure you can assume that they're going to meet each other at some point. I won't tell you how that goes. But they kind of, I feel like, wrapped it up the storyline so that if there wasn't, I don't think there's news of a second season, but it's the whole thing is based off of a book series because like I said, this one was based off of a book. It's based off of a whole series, so a second season is not out of the question. But if it was only one season, like it's pretty much done. Like they don't need another season.
What's your thoughts on shows that do that? Like after season one, if it's like wrapped up, sort of like you wouldn't need a second season. Do you like that? Do you hate it? Do you want it to be like the biggest cliffhanger of your life?
If there's a cliffhanger, you might as well never make another TV show again because I will never trust you. If there's no more seasons after that, I know it's not their fault, but still, apparently that is happening with the show The Society. I'm very upset about it because they definitely ended on a cliffhanger and it's definitely done because there's been some drama with the cast, I guess. But if it wraps itself up, I'll be disappointed because I really liked the characters and stuff, but I understand like When They See Us obviously is a one and done mini series. Dash and Lily could be a one and done mini series, one season. I think if you don't have any more story to tell, don't tell any more story because you're just going to ruin it and I will also not trust you. But if you leave it on a big cliffhanger and you know you have like plans and then it gets cut, I am upset at everybody involved.
Okay, I get that completely. I guess going into that question, I was going with the idea that you knew you were going to have a season 2. Like, do you want the season 1 to wrap up and then it's kind of like another type of story in season 2? But going the direction that you just went, if you know it's a one and done, it needs to wrap up. I don't want it to end in a cliffhanger. That's dumb. I don't like that. If, it's not their fault if they think they're going to have a season 2 and then the season 2 gets cut, I get that. I'm still upset about it, but I'm not going to be mad that they did that because that was not their fault. And my thoughts on a one and done, like one season and done type of show are I love and hate it. Like if I go into it knowing that it's going to be one season and that's it, that's better. But I'm thinking specifically of the show The Haunting on Hill House Bly Manor. That was a one season and done, and it told everything exactly how it needed to. It finished off perfectly. But I was mad that they couldn't have made it a cliffhanger and made it into a second season, if that makes sense. Like, I just wanted more of it. I wanted them to keep telling a story. But if they didn't have anything else to say, like you said, just don't try, because then you'll ruin the series.
Also, here's the thing, though. Let's say you are making a show. You're making it in your head. Try to come up with what the next 2 seasons after season 1 are going to look like, because let's say they really like the first season. What are you going to do next? If you don't have an idea, you're just going to come up with one out of thin air and it's going to suck. We are taught when we come up with shows, like even for our pilot episode class, what does next season look like? I don't even know what the rest of the season looks like, and I have to think of the next season. You know what I mean? Like, that is what they train us to do, which I think is very smart. Same with our thesis. If we're doing a TV show for our thesis, you should have the pilot done, and then what I'm doing is a series Bible and coming up with the next couple of seasons. So I think that Dash and Lily probably, it's based off of books, so there are options for them, but if they don't have anything, I say just end it. I think it's cute the way everything is going on, so I think it could end the way it ends, but who the heck knows?
I think that would be all I have to say about this series. Do you have anything else to add to this series before we reveal our question that will be answered next week?
No, I'm good. I do highly recommend it, though. It's super good.
All right. I guess then we will get into the question that we will be answering next week.
All right. And our question for next week comes from Jack.
What is a movie that everyone likes that you just hate?
Listen next week, everybody, to get our answers for that one. I think it's going to be a good one.
Maybe we will say something that makes you upset with that, or maybe you will agree with our answer. Have to listen next week to find out.
And with that, I think we are wrapping it up. If you've got requests, if you've got questions, if you've got just the inkling to email us at youtalkingtomepodcast@gmail.com. We do read all of our emails. Follow us on Instagram at youtalkingtome.podcast or on Twitter at youtalkingtome11, because we both number 1. Okay? If you would be so kind, we would love a like and a subscribe on our YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell. I actually remembered to say it this time. I never do, so no promises for any other future episodes. It's probably going to be Hannah. Do comment below on if you have any questions. Answer the questions we asked in the podcast. What is a movie you like that everyone hates, or a movie that everyone likes that you hate? You can answer whatever way you want. We have no guidelines here. All right, just be nice, basically.
Yes, and if you want to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that'd be great. If it's 5-star, hey, I won't be complaining.
I will try and find out how to find out if you rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, because you know what, maybe we'll give some people some shout outs. I don't know how to figure that out, but we'll figure it out one way or another. Okay,
we will figure it out. But I think that is all that we have for this episode. So until next time, my name is Hannah,
and I'm Rachel,
and this is the You Talking to Me podcast.
Bye.